Tomatoes, the ultimate main character in all our dishes, do not just come in one breed. Each one had its own specialty ranging from taste to size. Regardless, they are sure to leave you with a happy tummy that will land you on a red cloud 9. The red plump central player has its own variety of lush relatives. Are they all the additions we need in our recipes? Would they provide the same standard quality that the regular tomatoes do? Thousands of tomato varieties, yet the ones that stand out always seem to be a chef's favorite. It is never a flash in the pan when it comes to these handy red veggies. To name some of the famous tomatoes that are sure to bring the exotic taste to all your recipes, all tomatoes are fruits of the plant Solanum lycopersicum, although they're typically referred to and used as vegetables in cooking. Always trust the chef, as shown in the movie Ratatouille. The cherry tomato is a type of small round tomato believed to be an intermediate genetic admixture between wild currant-type tomatoes and domesticated garden tomatoes. It can be used in kebab skewers for its bite-sized goodness, although some variants may come in golf ball sizes. The cherry tomato is believed to be the direct ancestor of modern cultivated tomatoes and is the only wild tomato found outside South America. Cherry tomatoes have been popular in the United States since at least 1919. Recipes using cherry tomatoes can be found in articles dating back to 1967. Cherry and grape tomatoes can be used interchangeably for most recipes like salads, but you might have to cut cherry tomatoes into smaller pieces since they're larger. The only time cherry tomatoes are really preferable over grapes is when you want to stuff them. But if you want the tomatoes to last a little longer, you should choose grapes. But overall, just choose what matches your taste the best, because after all, tomatoes, regardless of their species, are summer in a basket. Roma tomatoes have an elongated egg-like shape, and they grow to about 3 inches long. Their bright red, smooth, and thick skin houses meaty flesh with few seeds, high sugar and acidic levels, and low moisture content compared to other tomato varieties, ideal for cooking down into a tomato sauce or paste. The disease-resistant plants grow to an average of 4 to 6 feet. As this is a determinate plant, the fruits will grow to a set height and ripen about the same time, thus producing one large crop typically toward the end of the season. Seems like a better deal with the previous two, but by popular demand, the cherry tomatoes win the war. Roma tomatoes are a member of the Solanaceae family, along with the potato, eggplant, and tobacco. Dangerous combination indeed. Tomatoes, originally termed Solanum lycopersicum, are botanically referred to as Lycopersicon esculentum, although modern studies are encouraging a return to the original classification. Roma is a classification of tomatoes that is also commonly known as paste, plum, pear, processing, saladette, or sauce-type tomato. Varieties in this category are characteristically meatier and less juicy than other types of tomato, which makes them ideal for canning, sauces, salsa, and dehydrating. While most Roma tomatoes are red in color, there are also varieties that produce orange or yellow fruits, which tend to have a slightly milder flavor. Less juicy and mild flavor? The tomato is acting out of character. Roma tomatoes are very high in vitamin A and C, and like other red tomato varieties, they're an inherently rich source of lycopene. Lycopene is a naturally occurring pigment that gives tomatoes their red coloring and doubles as a powerful antioxidant known for its anti-cancer benefits, such as preventing, fighting, and repairing cell damage within human bodies, and for its ability to lower cholesterol. Roma tomatoes are also a decent source of iron and fiber, as well as potassium and the B vitamins, which are good for heart health. Good for health, but what's the point of a dry tomato? Next comes beefsteak tomatoes. These tomatoes can be used as an interesting twist on juicing, artisan sandwiches, salsas, dips, and cold or hot sauces. They can even be used in baked items like desserts and pies, and make a great substitute in any recipe you're using Granny Smith apples. Granny Smith apples and beefsteak tomatoes, never thought there would be a day where I would live to see that combination. And though they may look green, it doesn't necessarily mean they're unripe. Don't judge a tomato by its cover. Hybrid beefsteak tomatoes are created by crossbreeding two different tomato plants to produce a new variety with specific traits. In contrast, heirloom beefsteak tomatoes are often pollinated and passed down through generations, resulting in a unique flavor and appearance. While hybrid tomatoes may have more consistent traits and better disease resistance, heirloom tomatoes offer a diverse range of flavors and are often grown for their historical significance. Heirloom tomatoes. No, it's not an heirloom passed down by generations through the royal family. Now raises the question, why are they called heirloom tomatoes? Often, these tomatoes are passed down not just through generations of tomato plants, but for generations of farmers too. So they become genuine heirloom pieces for the family. Another thing about this tomato that fascinates the buyers into buying one is its unique shape. It looks like a cross between a pumpkin and a crown. Totally Cinderella's taste. Like heirloom tomatoes, even green tomatoes are ripe when green. But the typical assumption made by people about green tomatoes doesn't apply to this. Sometimes green tomatoes are intentionally picked before they ripen, but more often, they're simply tomatoes that didn't ripen by the end of the growing season, which is why they're commonly seen in late summer and early autumn. As soon as the temperatures drop to where the tomatoes on the vine no longer ripen, it's green tomato season. Green tomatoes are tart, acidic, sometimes downright astringent. They have a firm, almost crunchy texture, and they're much less juicy than ripe tomatoes. Cooking them definitely mellows out the awkward part of its taste. For those who enjoy eating raw tomatoes, I wouldn't suggest this breed, as later you would wish to get rid of the aftertaste. Since they are firmer and more dense than ripe tomatoes, green tomatoes can be cooked in ways that ripe tomatoes can't. Slicing, coating them in cornmeal breading, and pan frying, which is one of the most common methods of cooking green tomatoes, wouldn't work with a ripe tomato. Its soft texture and all that juice would just make it a soggy, clumpy mess. In addition to frying though, green tomatoes are wonderful in baked dishes like casseroles, where their firmness allows them to hold up without turning mushy, as well as soups, chutneys, salsas, relishes, and pickles. They can even go in a pie. After all, the firm texture and tart flavor of the green tomatoes is not totally dissimilar to a green apple. Is it possible for tomatoes to grow on bushes? We have heard of vine tomatoes, but have you heard of bush tomatoes? Let's see the hidden secrets that the thick branches conceal. Vining tomatoes are often described as being indeterminate, which is a term applied to tomato plants that continue to grow and produce fruit until a frost. But not all indeterminate tomatoes are vining varieties. This is especially true for cherry and grape types, which have been hybridized to grow well in pots and even hanging baskets. Vining tomato plants require work and attention and won't thrive if neglected. The rewards are well worth it, so if you choose vining tomatoes, be prepared to spend some time with your plants. So would you risk your blood, sweat, and tears for delicious treats on the vines? You may have to wait a bit longer for the first ripe fruit, but once they are ready for harvest, you will find plenty of delicious tomatoes on your well-cared-for vining plants every few days until frost. Bush tomatoes tend to produce lots of fruit that ripen all at once in flushes, a growth pattern referred to as determinate. Depending on the length of your growing season, the first harvest may be followed by a second flush, but you may be tomato poor in between. If you are growing tomatoes for fresh eating and cooking, vining varieties will give you a season-long consistent yield. So, can we call it a farmer's favorite? From chefs to farmers, favorite tomatoes have come a long way. But then again, as a justification, a tomato's nutritional value can be considered. Tomatoes are a rich source of folate, vitamin C, and potassium. Relative to phytonutrients, the most abundant in tomatoes are the carotenoids. Lycopene is the most prominent carotenoid, followed by beta-carotene, gamma-carotene, and phytoene, as well as several minor carotenoids. After being familiar with its nutritional value, is it even a surprise that its popularity skyrocketed ever since the age of erect Homo sapiens? Studies suggest that they may ease inflammation, boost your immune system, lower your cholesterol levels, and keep your blood from clotting. All those things may help prevent strokes. And that's why we say, don't forget to take your daily dose of reds too, kids. What tomatoes do you think will bring the best out of your favorite dish? Are all these tomatoes worth the hype, or are they just the best out of the worst? Rate the different types of tomatoes from best to worst, and ones that do not even deserve to be set on the aisles of your local supermarket. If you missed your grandmother's tomato sauce, click the link on the screen to watch the next video on how to make Grandma's tomato sauce. Comment your thoughts down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more such videos.